Hello, beautiful people. It's Lulu. Have you ever said yes when every fiber of your being was screaming no? Maybe you agreed to take on another project when you were already drowning. Perhaps you said you'd attend an event when you desperately needed rest. Or you stayed silent when someone crossed a boundary because speaking up might disappoint them. If you've ever felt sick to your stomach just thinking about letting someone down, this episode will feel like a deep breath. And if someone you love is stuck in that people-pleasing spiral too, please send this to them. We need each other's courage. Welcome to the Lulu Essey podcast, the unedited show where we explore the real tools for building mental fitness and creating lasting transformation from the inside out. Here's what I know. That sick feeling in your stomach when you're about to disappoint someone, that's not just guilt. That's your nervous system treating potential rejection like a life or death threat. And until you understand why your brain does this, you'll keep sacrificing your own needs to keep others comfortable. This is about people-pleasing. That exhausting pattern where you sacrifice your own needs to make sure others are comfortable. We touched on this in episode 35 when we spoke about self-permission, but this week we're going much deeper. Today we're talking about something that might sound terrible, that might go against what you've actually been taught. But it is revolutionary, and it is the courage to disappoint. Last week, we explored your nervous system compass. This week, we're exploring why the fear of disappointing others keeps us stuck in states that don't serve us, that literally do not work for us, and how to build the courage to honor your own needs, even when it means letting other people down. We're going beyond self-permission, and I'm going to share some eye-opening neuroscience about what I call approval addiction. Because understanding why your brain craves approval like a drug is the first step to breaking free from it and giving yourself the space you need to make decisions that work for you in your life. And let's be clear, this is not about being a jerk. It's about using disappointment as a tool for honest relationships. I'd like to explain why your brain treats disappointment like danger. The neuroscience behind people-pleasing is eye-opening, and it explains so much about why saying no feels impossible sometimes. So there is no reason to feel bad here or to feel like you failed. Your brain is literally wired for connection and belonging because for our ancestors, rejection from the tribe meant potential death because being cast out was a survival threat. So when you're about to disappoint someone, your amygdala, that alarm system we've been talking about before, starts firing like you're facing actual danger. Your nervous system does not distinguish between my boss might be annoyed and there's a tiger chasing me. I know that sounds just crazy since we haven't been threatened by tigers for hundreds of years. But for our brain, the threat response is exactly the same. Dr. Naomi Eisenberg's groundbreaking research at UCLA showed that social rejection activates the same pain centers in your brain as physical injury. When someone rejects us, it literally hurts in the same way as breaking a bone might hurt. No wonder we'll do almost anything to avoid it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Remember those mirror neurons I've spoken about before? These are brain cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing that same action. They're part of what makes us empathetic beings, but they also make us incredibly sensitive to other people's emotional states. When you disappoint someone, your mirror neurons are firing as if you're experiencing their disappointment yourself. You're literally feeling their pain as your own. It's like an emotional contagion on steroids. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time you felt physically sick about potentially disappointing someone? That nausea, tight chest, racing heart, that's your nervous system in full protection mode. I know this might sound like TMI, but I used to actually respond by getting stress diarrhea. And here's what makes this particularly challenging for sensitive, caring people. The more empathetic you are, the stronger this response tends to be. Your superpower of feeling deeply becomes the very thing that traps you in people-pleasing patterns. But here's what your brain doesn't understand. Disappointing someone today is not the same as being cast out from the tribe hundreds of years ago. You can disappoint your colleagues and still keep your job. You can say no to a friend and still keep the friendship. You can set a boundary with a family member or your partner and still be loved. In fact, setting those boundaries often makes those relationships stronger over time, and boundaries definitely make you stronger and more effective in your own life. The problem is, our nervous system is still operating with ancient primal programming while we're living in a modern world. And here's where it gets personal for me. For years, I was addicted to approval. And I mean addicted. I got a literal high from making people happy, and I experienced a devastating crash when I sensed any disappointment for others. I would say yes to everything, overcommit, and then resent the very people I was trying to please. I was constantly doing mental gymnastics to get approval from others. It was exhausting. I had several breaking points, but the one that feels most recent came during a particularly overwhelming period at work. I had already committed to 3 major projects, was working nights and weekends, and my nervous system was permanently stuck in that yellow zone we talked about last week. Then my boss asked if I could take on just one more small thing. Every cell in my body was saying no. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, and honestly on the verge of burnout. But instead of honoring what my system was telling me, I heard myself say, "Of course, no problem." The moment those words left my mouth, I felt this wave of shame and anger, not at my boss, at myself. I realized I was more afraid of a few moments of their potential disappointment than I was of my own complete breakdown. That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing, my mind was spinning and spiraling, and I was firmly planted in the red zone shutdown. And I had a major aha moment. I tend to need a few before I really get it. You might be the same. But let's focus here. My people-pleasing wasn't actually helping anyone. It wasn't making me a better human, a better employee or friend. It was just making me exhausted, resentful, and unavailable for honest connection. Can you relate to this? Have you ever chosen someone else's comfort over your own well-being and then felt angry at yourself for it? I can almost guarantee that the answer to that question, if you are really honest, is a big fat yes. This is what approval addiction looks like. Making other people's emotions more important than your own needs, even when it's destroying you from the inside out. So, let's get practical about how we build the courage to disappoint. I'm going to offer you 2 powerful tools that will help you loosen the grip and begin to break free from approval addiction and start honoring your own needs. Tool number 1 is disappointment tolerance building. Tool number 2 is value-based decision making. As I explain these, notice if you're already feeling resistance to these tools. That's your nervous system trying to keep you safe in your people-pleasing patterns. I'll unpack tool number 1, disappointment tolerance building. This is like strength training for your nervous system. Just like you build physical muscle by gradually increasing your weights at the gym, you build disappointment tolerance by starting small and working your way up. And the key here is starting small. This is not about sweeping overhauls, because that in itself activates your brain's threat detection system. We all want big overnight change, but be willing to start small. Start with micro disappointments. Say no to the colleague who always asks you to cover for them. Decline the social invitation when you're tired. Don't laugh at the joke that you actually don't find funny. These might seem tiny, but they're training your nervous system that disappointing others isn't actually dangerous. Pay attention to what happens in your body when you disappoint someone. Notice the physical sensations you get. Is it a tight chest, racing heart, sweaty palms or underarms, or the feeling like you need to go? And most importantly, notice the urge to go back and immediately apologize and take it all back. Breathe through those sensations instead of running from them. And here's a key. After you track disappointment to someone, track what actually happens versus what your brain predicted would happen. Did your relationship end? Did they hate you forever? Or did life just continue, maybe with even more ease and grace? Most of the time, you'll discover that your fear was much bigger than the reality. Tool number 2, value-based decision making. This tool helps you make decisions from your core values, from who you really are and what is important for you, instead of from the fear of disappointing others. Before saying yes, ask yourself 4 questions. First, does this align with my values and priorities right now? Second, am I saying yes from excitement and alignment or from fear and obligation? Third, what would I do if I knew the other person would be completely understanding? And fourth, what sensations do I feel in my body when I think about saying yes? Does my body feel calm, or do I immediately feel anxious and stressed? What values are most important to you right now? Is it honesty, rest, family time, creative expression? When you're clear on your values, it becomes easier to disappoint people in service of what truly matters to you. I invite you to think about a recent situation where you said yes but wished you had said no. If you had applied these 4 questions, what might you have done differently? The beautiful thing about value-based decision-making is that it's not selfish. It's actually more generous. When you operate from your authentic values instead of from fear, you show up more fully for the commitments that you do make. Remember, every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, you're saying no to something that does. And I love to remind myself that I cannot fill from an empty cup. Beautiful people, here's what I invite you to understand. Disappointing others is not a character flaw. It's a life skill. And like I said in the beginning, we need to put disappointing others in this specific context. This is not about being a jerk or never being there for those you love. The people you love and respect want you to have boundaries. They want you to honor your own needs. Even if they don't consciously realize it, they want you to be more of who you really are. And if someone gets angry at you for taking care of yourself, that says everything about them and nothing about you. Your worth is not determined by how many people you keep happy. Your worth is inherent, unconditional, and completely independent of other people's approval. So here's how you can practice courage this week. I invite you to practice one micro disappointment. Choose something small and low stakes. Notice what happens in your nervous system. Breathe through the discomfort instead of trying to fix it immediately. And most importantly, track what actually happens versus what fear told you would happen. Be curious and open. This isn't about becoming selfish or uncaring. It's about becoming honest and having sustainable, healthy relationships. What's one area of your life where you've been prioritizing other people's comfort over your own well-being? Really sit with that question. Next week, we're exploring the confidence-joy feedback loop. Because once you develop the courage to disappoint, you'll discover something beautiful. Authentic confidence and sustainable joy feed each other in the most incredible ways. We'll look at the neuroscience of how being true to yourself creates unshakable confidence, which generates genuine joy, which makes you even more confident. If this resonated, text it to someone who needs this message today. You never know whose nervous system you might soothe. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear that disappointing others is actually an act of love. Love for yourself and ultimately love for them, because it allows for real, honest relationships. You can watch this full episode on YouTube or check out my shorts, which are bite-sized tools to build mental fitness, one tiny step at a time. And if you'd like my weekly newsletter, email lulu@luluessey.com. I also have a free guide for you to download at luluessey.com/free tool. And as always, what comes from the heart reaches the heart. And today, with deep respect for your courage to choose honesty over approval, this comes straight from my heart to yours.